Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network, Thursday, March the 3rd. We have to remember, it is March now. Ian Cameron, Jimmy Murphy, ready to break down the Thursday NHL card. It is a big card. We got a lot of games on tap. We've got a grand total of 9 games in NHL action tonight, so no time to waste. We've got to move with haste. We'll get right into it here for this Thursday card. We'll begin with the Minnesota Wild and the Philadelphia Flyers. The Minnesota Wild about minus 190. Is what we're looking at right now with them as road favorites in this game. Total sitting at 6, shaded to the over right now. And the Minnesota Wild are definitely in their own little funk right now this season for the first time. I mean, they did have a losing streak earlier on, but they've definitely not had the kind of extended struggles to win hockey games, the likes of which they're having right now. It's been a rough go for the Minnesota Wild. I don't think it could have gone much worse for them in these back-to-back games they just had against the Calgary Flames. Calgary pretty much just hands it to them, in both of those games. And I was very, very disappointed to see the lack of pushback, the lack of emotion at times from the Wild the other night. I mean, I remarked about it on yesterday's show when we recapped Tuesday that, Kaprizov gets basically crushed into the boards late into the game by Eric Goodbranson of the Calgary Flames, and nobody responds. Nobody gets in his grill. Nobody gets in his face and says, we're going to stand up for you and challenge you here. So it's one of those situations that bothers you. Certainly for me, when I see a team just not respond in the right way in a situation like that. Now, the counter argument to all this with the Minnesota struggles, and to a degree, they've missed, I think, Matt Dumba on the blue line. He is just good in all facets of the game defensively. He's good puck mover. He's pretty good in front of the net, clearing guys out. For a guy that's, a little undersized, he's actually a guy that's not scared to throw his weight around, be a little bit physical, be solid defensively. Like I said, get rid of traffic in front of the net so that the goaltender can see the puck. They've missed that element a little bit from Matt Dumba as well. But you still look at it, other than him, and Greenway's an absence too for depth forward standpoint, but really other than that, everybody's healthy. I mean, Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek and Zuccarello and Matt Boldy's actually kind of cooled off after a little bit of a red-hot stretch that he had about a week or so ago. So there's definitely some concerns here for Minnesota. The big question is the Philadelphia Flyers and their losing ways and their dreadful season, the cure for what ails Minnesota here in this game tonight. It very well could be. No question. I mean, when you look at Philadelphia, they've really struggled offensively of late. The goal scoring, when you look at it, is not really coming from a bunch of different sources. Giroux's kind of cooled off. Van Riemsdyk really hasn't gotten anything going. They've seen, obviously, Konechny not really produce lately at the level he's been able to in the past. So there's definitely a lot of issues right now with the Flyers being able to find the back of the net at this point in time. It certainly feels like if the Minnesota Wild are going to snap out of this malaise, it's tonight. But I'm not ready to lay minus 190 in that range with them. And even the Minnesota, the Minnesota regulation line is not necessarily the best, bet I'd be looking to make here in this game necessarily. I do want to somehow target Minnesota to score some goals tonight, because the one thing I do trust them to do after a game where they lose 5-1 is score goals and find the back of the net the very next game. And it is worth noting, the over is 9-1, Jimmy. Last 10 games for Minnesota after scoring 2 goals or less in their previous game. And it's also a good over record, 5-1 the last 6 when they've lost by 3 goals or more in the previous game as well. So what does that tell you? What does those two totals trends say? It says Minnesota usually bounces back at the very least offensively when they're off a pretty porous game like the 5-1 loss the other night to Calgary. So I do like the Wild here. Team total over 3.5. That's probably the best way to approach it. I mean, minus 120 with the team total. It's on par with the regulation line, and it's certainly a better price than the money line on Philadelphia. I think that's the best way to go. I would probably split it up with the full game over as well, because to be quite honest with you, I'm not ready to trust the goaltending of Cam Talbot right now. for the Minnesota Wild. He's fighting the puck. He's having a tough time. I get it that the Flyers offense has been a little bit in the doldrums of late, no question. Shut out by Edmonton, scored just 2 goals against Washington, 1 goal against St. Louis. Yeah, hard to trust them to score, but hard to trust Cam Talbot to make saves right now. He's really been fighting the puck. So for me, this is going to be a split between Wild team total over, full game over 6. Jimmy, what do you think here, Minnesota, Philly?
Yeah, I'm really sour on Minnesota right now, to be honest. And I think this is a team not in a good place at all right now. I think they need a little shakeup in that lineup. I don't know what's happened to them. And I know our man Terry's not going to like me saying that, but I'm going to go with Philly on the upset here. I think the doldrums continue for the Minnesota Wild. And look, Carter Hart's been great. I get where you're going with, that stat there about Minnesota and the team total. I don't think that's a bad bet at all. I just like the form that Carter Hart's in right now. I like the way that Philly's playing. I think Philly's kind of said, screw it, let's go out and have some fun. And sometimes when teams do that, that's when they're really dangerous. We've talked about this before. We're in that time of year now where you got to watch out for these dogs and you got to not overlook them. They have nothing to lose. They're coming in and, at the same time, they're playing for jobs for the next year. So, or they're trying to get traded. So I like Philly in this. Give me the Flyers to pull the upset here.
All right, I like it. Jimmy going for the Fly. You know what? I will, like I said the other day, I said it yesterday, I said it on the betcast. Flyers haven't folded a tent this year and gone home. They've been trying. The will is there. The compete level is there. The work ethic, I think, is still there for that group. It's just the results aren't there. The wins aren't there right now. And Carter Hart is playing better, no question. They threw everything at the net against Edmonton. They had 39 shots. They had sustained pressure in the offensive zone for much of that hockey game. And like I said, that's now 2 games in a row. The Flyer game and, of course, Florida over the weekend that Mikko Koskinen's looked like Marty Brodeur in his prime. Just absolutely magnificent. And if it's someone other than Koskinen or he doesn't play at that level that he did, maybe the Flyers score, find the back of the net a couple of times at the very least, if not more, and maybe they win that game against Edmonton. So there is truth to that. So this is tough because at some point you got to get the result, and that's kind of why I still think that's why I'm also taking the team total. We could get 5-4 Philly here. I'd be happy because I do have the game to go over, and I have the Minnesota team total over. Those would both win, even if Minnesota loses. I could see that kind of game where it's the floodgates on both sides open up a little bit, and Philly again taking advantage maybe of a team struggling with their confidence right now. Minnesota, and in particular a goalie in Cam Talbot, struggling with his confidence right now. Andrew McInnis is with us now as well. Andrew, welcome in. Minnesota, Philadelphia. What do you like here?
What's going on, guys? Man, I can't wait for Vegas in March Madness. I mean, I'm just out here shoveling snow. We're getting destroyed again. The life of living in the East Coast, man. It's not.
Hey, you and I both. We're going away later this month. It'll be nice.
Awesome.
Be
yeah,
nice.
for
Where
sure.
you headed, Ian?
San Antonio for Pub Sports Radio.
Nice.
It'll be a whole week-long event. They're lining up a bunch of different events for us while we're in the town. We're going to have some party nights, of course. We're going to a Sweet 16 NCAA tournament game in San Antonio, Elite 8 tournament game that weekend. South Regional is in San Antonio that final weekend of March. So it'll be the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 round in the South region.
That's sweet.
We'll be going to games there, and a Spurs Grizzlies NBA game too.
They
so
still have they still have a minor league team there. Hockey.
That's a good question. I should know that.
I
should know that.
That'd be a fun game, though. Spurs.
They have some kind of hockey team.
Yeah, it used to be the
Rampage.
The Rampage, right?
Yeah.
Are they still there?
They were.
Yeah,
they were. They aren't anymore. I don't think. I think they they moved to Henderson Silver Knights.
Oh, okay.
That's where that franchise moved
cool,
to.
cool
Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Jersey, eh? Yeah. Nobody's gonna have one of those. That'd be a cool little souvenir.
Yeah.
Have fun, boys.
Yeah, absolutely. So Andrew's going to Vegas later this month. I'm going to San Antonio, Texas.
I'll be in Montreal.
So, yeah, that's right. We're all traveling. It's time to get back to getting around a little bit and traveling a bit. Yep. All right, back to hockey, Andrew. What do you like?
Yeah. Look, I've been impressed, just like you said, Ian. Like I talked in the show yesterday, and I remember saying to Jimmy that I was regretful in not pulling the trigger on my lean in the under in the Philadelphia and Edmonton game. And I think that's, if anything, that I don't like using this expression too much, but the bend don't break. I mean, Philadelphia has been giving it their all defensively. They have been, just hanging around in games. The problem is when you do that, you also are kind of sacrificing some offense as well, right? When you're playing cautiously, you're sacrificing, getting the turnover and moving up the puck the other end of the ice. But I think Minnesota's team total is a good play here. Over 3.5 team total. I think this is a game where we see Minnesota kind of find the back of the net. And the rest, it doesn't really matter to me. If Philadelphia can win the game, Minnesota could give up a few. I don't really care what happens other than that. I think Minnesota gets to 4 goals. I think they're playing good enough hockey that they should be rewarded with some goals. And I think this might be a game to do it. Philadelphia's goaltending has been good lately, guys, but I don't know if they can keep it up like this.
It's been a struggle for them to score goals, but Carter Hart has played better lately. There's no question. And just whatever you do, if you want to give yourself the utmost chance to win, if you're Mike Yeo, keep Martin Jones out of the net. It's simple as that, because he has definitely had a tough year, but Carter Hart lately has shown some life. So interesting matchup. Again, there's really going to be some worries and some panic starting to take over for the Minnesota Wild, and maybe for our friend Terry Edelman if they don't win tonight here against Philadelphia. So we'll see if the Wild can snap out of their recent struggles. Next up, we've got, speaking of teams struggling, Washington. What about their struggles? The Capitals can't get out of their own way right now. They're hosting the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina minus 130, road favorites, 6 the total in this one. It's one of the first bets I actually made late last night, overnight on this card. There's a world of difference right now between these two teams, and I think the price is short on Carolina, to be quite honest with you. I think there's a bad Washington team at the moment. I know Vanacek's going to be in net, who came in relief of Samsonov the other night, who got injured. He's been good at times. He actually wasn't bad in the Toronto game when he finished the game for Samsonov, but still been inconsistent. He's still been in and out of the lineup. This team just doesn't look right at the moment. The defensive breakdowns are horrendous in their own zone. They've really, really fallen apart defensively at times. They've not gotten a key save when they've needed it. And we've seen their offense completely dry up as well. I thought TJ Oshie would be a shot in the arm for the Capitals, and really hasn't happened. I mean, they're 0-3 since he came back. So much for that great record with TJ Oshie in the lineup. Remember earlier this year how great that team was from a win-loss standpoint earlier in the year with Oshie in the lineup? Well, they're 0-3 since he's come back, losing to the Rangers 4-1, the Flyers 2-1, and the Leafs 5-3. And to make matters worse, not only is Carolina the better of these two teams right now, they're probably going to get Carolina's best tonight after losing to Detroit 4-3 in overtime at Little Caesars on Wednesday night. So I'd expect a really good effort here from the Hurricanes. And look, if they bring that effort, they're going to win this hockey game, because just flat out, they're much better than Washington right now. So very simple. Carolina minus 130 in this one. I think they get the job done. They're just a better team at the moment. Jimmy, what do you think? Carolina, Washington.
I think I'm coming right in with a Jimmy puck line right now, almost right out of the gate here. Yeah. Look, I am Washington, to me, until further notice, is a bet against team. And they've got this, unhealthy situation with the goalies. Not only are they injured nonstop, and they keep rotating Zach Fucale in and out, which he's going to be up tonight now in Washington, just got recalled. The goalies stink. Even if they're healthy, they stink. So this is not a good situation right now. And I don't know if anyone saw it, but I was just writing about it in my daily wrap for Montreal Hockey Now, is that, the general manager basically just threw the towel in, and he addressed the media. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but he said, look, you have the elite teams and you have that next tier. We're at best the bottom of the next tier. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And if you're a player on that team, what's that telling you right now? So this is not a good situation that the Washington Capitals are in right now mentally. They're just not playing well on the ice. A lot of question marks going around there. And don't tell me either. I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to drag politics into it, but the Ovechkin thing, to me,
it's a thing.
It casts a cloud over that dressing room right now. I'm sorry, it does. That's just the way it is. There's no avoiding it. And yes, unfortunately, sports and politics do mix. And this is one of those times. And if you're a player in that locker room that totally disagrees with if you're a human being, you should, with what's going on in Ukraine, and you see him not utilizing his voice, I'm sorry. There's going to be some differences in words exchanged, I'm sure, right now. And it's not going to be a good dressing room. So bet against the Capitals for me, nonstop. Give me Carolina puck line.
Yeah, he was in a spot that he was very uncomfortable in that presser.
Well, he put himself in that spot.
Yeah. because he's buddy with Putin. He always has been. And, you know, he was a little Mr. Mumbles with his responses because he didn't want to come out vociferously, because this is still a dictator we're talking about. Do you really want to come out firing shots at a guy like that?
Yep.
Of course. Publicly? His family's over there, but still, yeah.
And it was just a Mr. Mumbles, a little monotone type of delivery.
Yeah.
Response to all the questions.
He
wanted to say peace and, you know, no war, peace and all that shit. He wanted to say it all, but he didn't want to say it too loudly and ruffle Putin feathers, you know.
Guys, Kyle Spencer,
he's probably scared shitless that if I say something loudly enough about this guy, he's going to come after me next.
Bring it on.
Kyle Spencer.
Kyle Spencer, you see that point he made too? Revenge game for the Canes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an even bigger reason right there. I'm all over the Canes. It might be my best bet when all is said and done.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, to me, I thought when I saw the opening number, it was right around where it is right now, -1. That's actually trickled down slightly. There has been just a slight move toward Washington, which it's not my money. I'll say that. Andrew, what do you think, Carolina, Washington?
Yeah, I mean, guys, I just like the over 6 here. You know, I think that Washington's going to continue to allow goals. I think that this is one of those games that it could be a trading goals nonstop type of game. I mean, Carolina's been known to play defensive games, but Capitals are desperate. They're going to be throwing everything they can at the goalie. I think that they've been making plays, but it's kind of like what I've been, you know, making those comparisons to soccer, guys? Like sometimes you see a soccer game and it's like, you know, they show the possession percentages, and that's old news in soccer now. I mean, it's not uncommon to see a team win like 1-0, 2-0, and they were outmatched like by 60% possession. I mean, possession doesn't matter anymore. It's about quality of shots and having the ability to capitalize. You know, if you're an expected goal guy right now, you're losing money on the Capitals because they're actually not even playing bad hockey. They just can't finish. They literally just can't score. You know, if you're looking at some of the analytical numbers, those numbers would tell you the Capitals aren't even playing that horribly. They just can't finish for shit right now. And I think
what is that, Andy? That's mental. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they just can't finish too. Yeah. So I think the over is the play, but I definitely wouldn't talk anybody off Carolina. I don't care what anyone says. If this seems like a fishy line, it's too cheap. It's too cheap. I mean, Carolina -130, that's just way too low to me against this Capitals. But I'm just going to take the over 6 for now because I expect goals on both sides.
All right.
Yeah, of course. There's no denying it's a distraction.
Yeah. I don't, Andy, too. You're talking about possession. No, I think it depends on the team, though, because you yourself made a great point yesterday or the day before about Montreal and how much more the possession factor has given them confidence on the ice that they're not always chasing the game. So I think it all depends on that. But I just think I'm with you. And as far as it goes with them not finishing, guys, to me, these aren't guys that can't finish. They're proven finishers that aren't finishing. So it's all up here right now. And that's not a good thing. Like I talked about with the goaltending for Toronto. And man, that come to fruition last night.
Oh yeah.
You know,
and it's not just Campbell.
When you're not there in your head, man, it's not a good situation. I'd rather play with a broken leg than not be there in my brain.
Yeah, well, Jimmy, I've got like one of my best friends. He's like a pro soccer player, and like it's just like here in the Canadian League and stuff. And he says that like once you get to that level of like getting paid to play your sport, obviously it's about performing, but he meditates. He's a keeper. Like he like actually meditates in the morning before games, and like you practice. You just want to show up as like refreshed in your mind as you can with like nothing on your mind. So to your point about the distractions in the locker room, I think that, but I don't even think that's bringing politics into it. That's just a fact. There's no politics there. It's just, it's a distraction. It'd be the same thing if someone's mom died the night before a game.
Because what am I doing every time I'm coming in that Capitals dressing room if I'm a reporter there? I'm asking that question. So
yeah, exactly. You know? Yeah. Something's on your mind, you know. It's the same thing if one of us, had a bad day and we were coming on the show, we might have not as good of a show.
Betting. It can cloud our betting for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, there's definitely something to that. And Brian McClellan, yes, there's no doubt the GM of Washington. I read that same thing.
Oh, you just saw it, yeah.
Yeah, I read that same thing just now, where he says basically we're not going to be aggressive at the deadline. We're not in a position to be aggressive right now. So that's basically saying our team hasn't played good enough to give me.
I'm not rewarding them.
They haven't played good enough for me to give them the vote of confidence. to buy at the deadline.
Yeah,
That's what he's saying. Yeah.
Jimmy, do you find it's kind of weird this year because there's like so many teams that are performing well? Like a lot of articles I've read where it's like there's like the upper echelon and then there's like the bottom half. Like I feel like there's gonna be a lot more buyers than there usually are. Does that make any sense?
I think Gary Bettman's wet dream of parity has run out here. I mean, look at the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference is set. I mean, that's it.
This might be the first year in my whole life, Jimmy, where the NBA has more parity than the NHL.
yeah. So I'm with you on that, guys. I'm definitely with you. But yeah, I just harp on it a little more. Just bet against the Capitals. I don't like them, and you're going to get good value betting against them, as we see right now, as you guys are saying, Ian and Andrew, is because how many times do we see reputation dictate things as opposed to what is actually going on in the current exact moment? And Washington has a reputation as being the contender. They are not a contender anymore. So get on that until Vegas figures it out, until the odds makers start to figure out what Byron McClellan said they are. Until then, you're going to get some good value betting against them.
You know what's amazing too is if the Jackets somehow can keep winning and maybe keep piling up some points, they could threaten Washington, for one of the final wild card spot. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think I'm going to, I'll go on record right now. I don't think Washington makes the playoffs. Wow. I'm going to say that right now. They're going to fall out.
It would have to be a heavy fall. And I don't know if the teams behind them are good enough to catch them, but never say never. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, we've seen bigger things, right? And guys, now we know why Marc-Andre Fleury nixed that deal.
Yeah.
He probably looked at that team and said, they're not going anywhere. If I'm waving this.
He wants a cup.
If I'm moving my family a second time in 1 year, if I'm going to uproot my family twice, not even in a calendar year, in one season, then I want to go to a contender. And I think he wants to be in a Canadian market, guys, because it means a lot for him to win a Stanley Cup in Canada. I really think that's true.
Yeah, we'll see if it comes to fruition. There's a lot of suitors right now, or a lot of teams that are on the telephone looking for potential.
Man,
I don't know Toronto yet.
Toronto's got other LTIR stuff, Jimmy. I hate that stuff, man. The Leaf fans are like celebrating a guy getting his like 5th concussion because they have $6 million in cap space. Like, give me a break. You want to talk about being a kind human and ethics and stuff like that? Let's not celebrate Jake Muzzin being injured.
I never said I like the Leafs.
No, not you.
Leaf fans we got $6 million cap space. Guy might have brain damage after his career.
Like the Vegas Golden Knights and the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Maple Leafs, the 3 teams that they just love taking advantage of this, don't they? I mean, every player that's on an elite team should just get an injury and then wait till the playoffs to come back, and it's the dream come true. And
until that gets changed and that loophole gets changed, people are not going to bitch. They were bitching about it, but they say, no, you know what? Until it gets changed, we'll take advantage of it too, just like Tampa Bay did.
Yeah.
You guys realize that the GMs vote on this, right?
Oh no, I know. Yeah.
So I look at it like it's okay for us to criticize, right? But if I hear another GM when I hear another GM criticize those teams for doing that, I'm like, shut the hell up and vote against it.
Yeah.
Like, what are you complaining about? You have a chance to change this, and you never do. So shut up.
Mm-hmm.
They do. It's a voting procedure, in terms of all of those different rules and stipulations, and opportunities are there to change it, and not often those opportunities taken. By the way,
I gotta say,
Nathan in our chat, I just want to mention him because he was on the Betcast the other night on Tuesday with us. He mentioned Carolina on the Betcast, and he's put it in the chat. It's so true. Really good first period team, Carolina. So first period money line with Carolina is, I've certainly not talk anybody out of making that.
Oh yes, either. I remember he mentioned that bet. Yeah.
Very good first period team, consistently. They're usually at the very least tied or ahead in a lot of games lately after the first period. So definitely something to keep in mind. They've been a good
Jimmy,
team.
I want to ask you though, can they do an investigation on that? Like, can they check into it or something like that? Is there a rule?
What? It's legal.
Well, no. Not on if a player, if Mark Stone is ready to come back for a month, but they just don't bring him back to the playoffs. Isn't that kind of going around the point because he's not injured anymore?
What they're doing, Andrew. Yeah, I agree with you completely, but they don't investigate it and they don't vote against it.
Yeah.
And it's technically it's legal. I mean, how if I'm Gary Bettman or Bill Daly, how do I prove? What can I do to say that Toronto's lying or Vegas is lying?
I guess, yeah. Besides a doctor clearing them, there's nothing really you can do.
Yeah. So
No, that's absolutely true. We got a good game next up here. One of the games
yeah.
of the night for sure. Pittsburgh Penguins, Tampa Bay Lightning. Great matchup. Tampa Bay minus
Yep.
165. Home favorites, 6 the total in this game. This is a tricky one side-wise and a tricky one totals-wise for me because we know Pittsburgh is one of those teams, and so is Tampa. Both of these teams are. We could see 4-3-5-4 here. We could see 2-1-3-1 here. We really could see either end of the spectrum here with the Penguins and the Lightning. And let's keep in mind for Pittsburgh, Tristan Jarry had a terrific game last time we saw him in net against the Rangers in that Saturday afternoon television game, shutting out New York 1-0. It was one of his better games. Not that he was struggling, but he was just a little bit maybe a downturn in his play. But boy, he bounced back strong against the Rangers. It was a great performance from Jarry in net. And we've seen Pittsburgh, play solid defensively 2 games in a row in their back-to-back victories over the Rangers. And the Jackets, you hold the Jackets to 2 goals, you're doing something good because they've been scoring goals in bunches lately. So we'll see if they can keep that defensive type of game going tonight against Tampa Bay, who, after a slow start, first period, didn't have it. But boy, they roared back against Ottawa, 5 unanswered goals after trailing 2-0 very early in that game, and they ended up winning 5-2 over the Ottawa Senators. We'll see how this game plays out. They've played twice already this year, but way back in early in the year, Pittsburgh, I remember on opening night, it was Stanley Cup ceremony, raise the banner night in Tampa, that opening night of the season. Pittsburgh went into Tampa, beat them 6-2, and then Tampa Bay returned the favor in Pittsburgh 5-1 a couple weeks later. So 1-1 here with the series split. That was really the only success Pittsburgh's had in Tampa Bay was that opening night performance. Other than that, Tampa Bay's done really well here at home against Pittsburgh. This is probably, for me, one of those games where I sit back and watch, enjoy a pretty good game. 2 good teams playing each other right now. I would lean Tampa if I had to. Tampa doesn't look like a team I'm ready to go against at the moment. I did criticize them a little bit for the early games in this win streak where Arizona, New Jersey, and they didn't necessarily play great against Edmonton, kind of took advantage of some weak Mike Smith goaltending, but I like the way they've played the last 2 games. The 3-2 game against Nashville, they played very well. The Ottawa game, after that slow start, I think maybe a little too much celebrating and partying and whooping it up in Nashville maybe over the weekend. Boy, did they quickly get back on track. So I think when I look at this matchup, it's one of those pass in terms of a pregame wager, and we'll see if something unfolds during the game live to see if maybe we can jump in on something with that. What do you think here, Jimmy? One of the top games tonight, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is going to be a great game, I think, and I'm going to go at just because I think it's going to be such a great game. I get 2 bets on this. I'm going to go under. I think it's more one of those really defensive, physical, playoff-like games. I think we're going to see more of those as we go down the stretch here. And I'm going to take the draw because I think it's going to be so close. I see overtime.
By the way, you know what? Pittsburgh and Tampa's been an under series history recently. The one over was that 6-2 opening night game with Pittsburgh winning. Don't be fooled by that over. I remember that game. I remember it because Cooper pulled the goalie repeatedly in the third period when they were down, I think, 3-1 or 4-1 at the time, and that's when all the goals took place with that extended, 5, 6, 7 minutes left in the third period with the net empty. I distinctly remember that from opening night. So even the one over recently with the Penguins against the Lightning was a misleading one because it was just a bunch of empty net goals with Cooper pulling the goalie down 3, with about 8 minutes left in the third period. So keep that in mind. Andrew, what do you think here? Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, for me, I'm going with the dog here, boys. I'm going with the Penguins plus 145. Bet it last night. A lot of the reasons I like the dog is just for one of the reasons that Jimmy was just talking about with the defensive game. I'm going against the defending Cup champions. I'm going against a really talented team, 12-2-1 their last 15. It's not easy to go against a team like that. It's not really something you want to do very often. But, you look at the games that Tampa Bay has played recently. Look at how well they've played. This could be a game where you get a more hungry Pittsburgh Penguins team here, ready to play shutdown hockey. And I think if it's the low-scoring game, the under correlates with a Pittsburgh Penguins victory. And, obviously Vasilevsky's great and Tampa has good defense, but, Crosby and entire top 6 is really rolling right now. And guys, one thing interesting here, if you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins schedule over the next couple of days here, we'll be talking about on the Ice Guys. It's not good. It's not pretty. It's against some really, really tough opponents. And I always say that in those type of trips, I'd way rather play the team at the start of that trip than near the end of it. So, and especially with the totals as well. So I like the under like Jimmy. I think that the start of these road trips, you look towards the under. Later in the road trips, you look towards the over. This is a big game tonight, I think, for the Pens. And hopefully Sid the Kid gets it done for me.
All right, like in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is getting a very tempting price. There's no question at around plus 150. Pretty much across the board in this one. Actually opened a little bit higher than that, but pretty much plus 150 now is what we're seeing at most books. And it'll be a great game to watch, tune in. Of course, in both of these teams, playing some good hockey at the same time. So that's the great sign going into this game. No question about that. Certainly Braden Point's been just magnificent, of course, lately. 4-point night for him the other night, continues to just pile it up. Kucherov, he missed a lot of games, but he's been getting multiple points. I mean, Point, by the way, 40 points in 38 games for him this year for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So whenever you got more points than games played, you're having an absolutely phenomenal season. So this might not be a game I go crazy with the props with, though, because I do think it could be a little tighter in terms of, you got two elite goalies, Vasilevsky, of course, and you've got, Jari coming off one of his best games of the entire year. He was magnificent against the Rangers Saturday afternoon. So we'll see if he can maintain that level of play tonight. Ottawa, Florida. We got Florida minus 390, home favorites minus 400 in some spots. Huge price tag here with the Panthers in this one. The total 6.5 here, shaded to the over pretty much across the board. As far as I'm concerned with this game, it's another Florida over for me. I mean, it's not a team I'm looking to bet unders with right now. That's for sure. And say what you will about Ottawa, but I think in this game against Florida, with the way they've defended lately or struggled, let's be honest, Florida has struggled defensively during this run, and they've lost 3 in a row largely because they didn't keep the puck out of their own net. 6 to Nashville, 6 to Columbus, 4 to Edmonton. In a game where they actually dominated territorially, dominated in terms of shots on goal. They lost the game because everything Edmonton threw at the net went in, essentially. And it was not a great performance necessarily from Bobrovsky, who got outplayed in that performance in that game on Saturday afternoon by Mikko Koskinen. So issues right now at the back end for Florida at this point in time. And you look at the penalty kill. They've given up 4 power play goals in the last 5 games. That's not necessarily going to get the job done. And you look at Ottawa, the one thing they have done is scored a power play goal 2 of the last 3 games. So that's definitely something that worries you a little bit. At the same time, though, is Ottawa going to keep Florida's offense in check? I'm not so sure. We just saw them play Tampa, and what happened? They gave up 5 goals in that game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I understand Matt Murray is capable, although it's very interesting. They're going with Anton Forsberg tonight instead of Matt Murray in net here for the Senators tonight in this game. And he actually has played better of late. 4-0-1, 2.12 goals against, .940 save percentage. But he gave up 3 to Minnesota, 3 to Boston, and then some of those other games were a start against Buffalo and a start against Washington, who have really been struggling offensively. Andrew just said it when we talked about the Capitals a couple games ago. They just can't finish right now. To me, this is definitely Florida's going to get theirs, in my opinion. That's just what they do. They score 3, 4, usually more than that on home ice. But I think you can count on Ottawa against this, suddenly worrisome Florida defense. It's not something to panic over, but this team is not exactly shutting it down at the moment, the Panthers. So I think that opens the door for Ottawa to contribute as well. So for me, it's an over 6.5 bet in this one. Jimmy, what do you think here? Senators, Panthers.
Yeah, I'm going to go with both the Panthers team total over and the over in the total game.
All right, so that's what I did in the Minnesota game. Wild team total, full game over. Jimmy going Panthers team total over, full game over here in this one. Andrew, Ottawa, Florida.
Yeah, I don't love the price, but I think the puck line's a play for me. I might try and look at something in game just because it is pretty steep here with that. Guys, I've been impressed with Ottawa and their fighting. This is a team that nobody can take away from them. That they give it their all every game. I mean, They could be down 5-1. They'll still scrap. They'll still finish their hits. They're a team that if you're a coach, you got to be impressed with them. But this is going to be a pure outclass game, I think. And Florida at home won't take them. I've been talking a lot on the shows lately about letdown spots. I don't think this is one of them. So I think Florida shows up here, gets it done.
All right, so looking toward Florida, -1.5, puck line, -155 is what we're seeing with the Panthers puck line right now. By the way, Ottawa's going to get Josh Norris back. That is huge for them, no question. Obviously, top-line player for the Ottawa Senators, so getting him back in the lineup definitely is going to help the Senators moving forward. So that's great news to see that. Obviously, a big part of this team all season long, but and was playing well before his recent absence. So getting him back to center that top line with Tkachuk and Sanford is great to see. Formanton with Stützle and Brown, the second line. So good to see that for Ottawa. That they're going to need all the offense they can muster tonight when you're trying to take on a team definitely like the Florida Panthers. So it's good to see him back tonight for the Sens. All right, Vancouver Canucks, New York Islanders. Next up, we've got the Islanders -115, home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this matchup. Tricky spot here for the Islanders because they're back home off a pretty lengthy road trip that took them through a bunch of different places. That was a pretty long road trip when you think about it for the Islanders. 5 games since February 22nd they had been on the road through Seattle, San Jose, Los Angeles, Anaheim, and then it wrapped up in Colorado on Tuesday night, a 5-3 loss to the Avs. Islanders victimized by what has happened to a lot of teams in Denver this year, where you think you're going to get out of Denver with a big win against the Avalanche. You're up 3-2 going into the third period, and the Avalanche just mow you over and run you over in the third period at home. I mean, they've done that to so many teams this year, and they did it to the Islanders the other night, erasing that deficit, winning 5-3. And now all of a sudden you're back home, long road trip, a lot of days on the road. When you add it all up, that was 8 days on the road for the New York Islanders, and only 1 day of off in between the end of that trip and tonight against Vancouver. So it's a little bit of a tricky spot here for this Islanders team that did have that nice shutout win against Anaheim, but obviously unable to follow it up, albeit against a great Colorado team. Meanwhile, you've got Vancouver, who definitely has the rest advantage. They haven't played since Monday night in that shellacking they took at the hands of the Devils, 7-2, where it was just a collective flop from the team defensively. Terrible game in front of Halak. Halak wasn't sharp either, got pulled, but a lot of it was the Vancouver defense was just not very good, just giving the puck away, treating the puck like a hand grenade. They wanted no part of it in that game. Bruce Boudreau was very frustrated with their level of compete in that game and just the mistakes they made with the puck. And now they've had 2 days to kind of have that bad loss fester in their minds a little bit. So this Vancouver pass for me in this spot. I think you'll see them play better here tonight against the Islanders. They're in a little bit of a better scheduling spot. Don't have goalie confirmations yet. Sorokin has been the guy that Barry Trotz has been rolling with for the Islanders. I would expect it will be him again. And obviously for the Vancouver Canucks, you would expect Thatcher Demko to return in between the pipes. I'm shocked it hasn't been confirmed yet because to me, there's no way it isn't Thatcher Demko in net tonight for the Vancouver Canucks, but just hasn't been officially announced. But I'd expect him in there. I'd look at Vancouver, if anything, -105. Jimmy, Canucks Islanders.
Yeah, I'm good. Just as you were talking, just got a text from my man Rob Simpson of Vancouver Hockey Now, and he's saying it is Thatcher Demko for the Vancouver Canucks tonight. Yep. So you can put that in there. And because of that, guys, Demko versus Sorokin, and the fact that, look, the Canucks are going to want to tighten up after what happened the other night. The Islanders don't score much. It all looks like an under to me. So give me the under in this game. I'm not going to go either way on the side. I like a strict under.
Yeah, all right, liking the under here in this game. You know what's crazy though? Canucks Islanders has been crazy overs, 8-1 in the last 9 meetings. I can't explain why. I really can't. But it's been 8-1 to the over the last 9 head-to-head meetings. It was 6-3 in Vancouver for the Islanders earlier this year. Back in actually it was just last month, February the 9th. It's been weird, but I don't know if this is the spot for the over. That's such a strong series history, and usually I always bet overs when I see that. But yeah, the Canucks give up 7. Yeah, the Islanders give up 3-2 lead, 3
Yep.
goals in the third. It does have that feel to it, like both teams really tighten up tonight. We'll see if that's
And
indeed the
Islanders
case.
back from a long road trip too, Ian. You know, sometimes teams come out a little flat. It's kind of some boring hockey sometimes when that happens. And yeah, I just like the under. And if I was going to touch a side, I'd probably go with the Canucks just because of that fact that the Islanders are coming back after a long trip.
You know what I might do too as well? I might split this first period full game on Vancouver, because I think that first period after the 7-2 loss to Jersey and Islanders' first period back home after that long road trip, they get the jump maybe early on the Islanders. So I'm going to do a split there. First period money line, full game money line on Vancouver. Andrew, Canucks and Islanders.
Yeah, I like the Canucks and I like the over here. So just looking at that Devils game where I mean it was just such a bad situational spot. I had the over in that game, but I kind of wish I stepped in and took a side as well in that one. But 7-2, not their best game we've seen from Vancouver, but like we talked about, there was no Demko in net in that game. That's for sure. We've got Demko tonight, and he's obviously it makes a difference. But you know, I look at what I've seen recently out of both these teams, and you know, just looking at some of the score lines here: 7-2, 5-2, 7-1, 5-2, 7-4, 5-4. It's hard to expect something different all of a sudden, especially, you know, to kind of use Jimmy's point. I think that because they're fresh off that road trip, it's going to be, you know, one of two options. Either what he said, it's going to be a really dry, boring game, or it's going to be sloppy and several mistakes. And I guess he's hoping for one and I'm hoping for the other. But I'm hoping that it's a little bit sloppy. But you know what I think could happen, guys, is that it could be a slow start to the game and we might be able to get over 4.5 in game. And that's what I'm looking for. So on the same page with the Canucks, but I think we could see a slow start and then things kind of open up a little bit. One thing I wanted to mention as well is the Islanders, they're off that game against Colorado. And a point I've been making a lot recently is that when a team loses, but they're playing a really competitive team that's plus 450 or plus 400 at most books to win the cup, it's still a good game. Some people that are average sports fans or sports bettors, they don't understand that. They see all they see is the L, right? What I saw was a team actually put forward a pretty good effort. You know, Colorado played just a really great game. They're just an amazing team. Sometimes they're out there looking like the Harlem Globetrotters of hockey when they're down 3-0 or 3 whatever, and they can come back. They're just a good team, you know. But Islanders still impressed me despite the loss, and I think they can be motivated to, get back on the score sheet tonight.
All right, yeah, definitely. So, series history is all screams over with these two teams. That definitely can't be denied. We'll see though if the the poorest defensive efforts we've seen from the two teams in the last game they played results maybe in them tightening up. But see if that indeed happens tonight in this one. All right, we got Edmonton, Chicago. By the way, a couple of goal props there in that game. Maybe look points props. You could even sprinkle, and I've been doing this lately, 1.5s at these plus prices, for over points. I mean, they're really worth a look sometimes. And there's been a couple of the last few nights in the emails I've sent out to people that I've put in over 1.5 points, with props with some of these players. And we've gotten our share of them. We've had some Jack Hughes over 1.5 points, Brad over 1.5 points from the Devils in a couple of games, Bunting over 1.5 points a few games ago. These are good, and you can get plus 200, plus 250 in with some of these as well. So really, really good price. Again, you gotta be selective. You gotta shop around. But if you see matchups, and if you see the form makes sense, and if you see a pattern of performance in terms of current form from a particular player or home versus road splits, which I take into account, especially with a guy like Michael Bunting, I'll mention him for Toronto because most of his production comes on the road. That's where he does all his damage pretty much this year. He actually hasn't done as much on home ice for the Leafs, but keep an eye on those things too as well. The home road split performances for certain players, because you will notice things develop and trends develop in that regard. We have a trend developing in this game. It's Mikko Koskinen looking like Brodeur in his prime, Patrick Waugh in his prime, whatever you want to call it right now for the Edmonton Oilers. They're laying $140 on the road in the Windy City against the Chicago Blackhawks, 6 the total in this game. Yeah, it has been just remarkable to see this guy play so well in net, and it's all of a sudden going to be pretty interesting goalie battle here. Koskinen in just blazing form right now, and of course Marc-Andre Fleury for Chicago, who it's been up and down, but there's been some games he's really looked great, and then there's other games where it's been kind of rough. for Marc-Andre Fleury. Now, he obviously started the game against St. Louis. The last game that the Blackhawks played, they ended up losing that game 4-0. I don't think he played terrible, but no goalie's going to win when you don't give him any run support or any goals, so to speak. He's back in net tonight. Koskinen, what can you say? He's given up and actually he gave up 3 to Florida, but he stopped 44 shots in that game. It could have been much worse than that. And of course, is coming off the 39 save shutout over the Philadelphia Flyers. So Koskinen is just right now feeling it for Edmonton at this point in time. Do I want to lay $140 in this spot for Chicago? They're coming off, the Tampa, Florida, Carolina, Edmonton is the final game of that trip. They've won 2 of the last 3. Kind of feels like these are spots where you don't trust a team like the Oilers, who are sometimes a little flighty, but they've been at least a little less flighty with Jay Woodcroft. Let's be honest, the team defense has been better for this group. Koskinen's played well in net. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, the Nuge, is still out. And Jesse Puljujärvi as well is still out for the Edmonton Oilers as well. He's on injured reserve with a lower body injury. So a couple key absences here for the Oilers. But as we've seen, they've been able to overcome it. Yamamoto's been good. There's the prop I'd look at. Yamamoto's starting to feel it. Warren Fogel's making a difference right now. Obviously, it goes without saying, Zach Hyman for the Oilers. We've been talking about him every recent Edmonton game. And even Evander Kane, is someone that I think now has had enough time to get comfortable for the Edmonton Oilers going into this game. And you see the way he's performed. He's gotten points in 3 of the last 5 games for the Edmonton Oilers. And if you go back even further than that, he's had a grand total of 7 points in the last 8 games for the Oilers. So Vander Kane feeling it. So there's a bunch of different player props I'm looking at for points in particular for Edmonton. Yamamoto, you'll get some better value than, say, a Connor McDavid or a Leon Draisaitl with a guy like Kyler Yamamoto. And, of course, Zach Hyman, it goes without saying, I'd be interested in points props or to score a goal with him. And even Evander Kane, like I said, we've seen him score 7 points in the last 8 games. This could be a game where we see Edmonton at least be able to find the back of the net here against this Chicago team. Just hard to trust Chicago defensively, right? You look at the last 3 games, 5 allowed to Florida, 5 allowed to New Jersey, 4 allowed to St. Louis. They do have Jonathan Toews, it looks like, back tonight, the captain. For a team that's not going anywhere, I don't know if that's a huge difference maker, especially with the season Toews has had. 4 goals, 15 assists, been a pretty quiet season by his standards. So I'd lean Edmonton minus 140. Don't love the price, but I'll have a small play Oilers minus 140. More than anything, I'm looking at some of those props that I mentioned in this game. You could even maybe look Blackhawks team total under tonight if you buy into this hot streak for Mikko Koskinen, and if you buy into it maybe continuing tonight. Jimmy, what do you think here, Oilers and Blackhawks?
I'm staying away from this game. No feel whatsoever, guys. It just scares me a bit, so I will stay away.
So there's that little
Jimmy pass
I have with the Oilers. They should get it done here, but it's the end of a road trip. Koskinen is on fire. That could easily, if he plays anything like he did against Florida and Philly, they're winning tonight. Edmonton, yes. Simple as that. But it's the end of a road trip. It is Koskinen, and sometimes we get excited about his little 2-3 game stretches where he looks great, and then all of a sudden there's the bed crapper of a game happening, and we don't want that here tonight for the Oilers and for Koskinen. That's what I worry about always with this guy. But you can't deny the results and the performance the last 2 starts for him. Andrew, what do you think here, Oilers Blackhawks?
Yeah, the only thing I have in this game, and it's a long day, so I won't go long on it, is just the first period over. I expect a little bit from both teams here. Not going to take both teams to score, but I think we might see a fast start. I know Koskinen's been great, but could be a flat spot here. And could be a spot for the Blackhawks to kind of surprise some people. So no side or full game total, but just hoping for at least 2 goals in the opening frame.
All right, so looking at over 1.5 first period for Andrew with Edmonton and Chicago. Should be interesting. Like I say, we're all on Koskinen watch here because what he's done the last, it's the best hockey I've ever seen the guy play.
Yeah. And Edmonton's a better team with rest, like 110%. Every other team obviously they're great teams with rest too, but yep. Edmonton's a different team when they have rest. You put that team in a 3-4 situation or a 4-6, they're not nearly as good, not nearly the same team.
No question about that. There's definitely some truth to that. And again, the spot you'll always have to watch out, especially in this stretch of the season where there's so many games compacted in a short window, you do have to worry about, these scheduling spots like Edmonton's in. End of a road trip, played a lot of games lately. Do they feel it tonight against Chicago? Next up, we've got Colorado, Arizona. Avalanche minus 380 in the desert. Road favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. Obviously, it's a massive, massive price. And normally when you look at this spot for Colorado, you'd say to yourself, Vegas, that was a big game. They won 3-2. And then, of course, they had the Islanders, and they were down in that game. They came back, and they won 5-3. Now you go to Arizona. How fired up are you to play the lowly Coyotes in this game? I think in this spot, Colorado is fired up. They haven't played Arizona since what happened. It was right before the All-Star break. It was the end of their massive home win streak that Arizona snapped with a 3-2 shootout win in Denver last month. It's the last time they played Arizona. So this might be a night where Arizona has Colorado's attention in this type of spot tonight against the Coyotes. Let's give Arizona some semblance of credit, though, because even the Winnipeg game, Winnipeg has to erase a deficit going into the third period to win that game. They have the win against Vegas. Wedgwood keeps them in it against LA. They lose 3-2. They have a win against Dallas before that. Tampa Bay comes into the desert, and it's a 4-3 game. Arizona's right in. Arizona's competitive right now. The effort's there. Wedgwood's been capable in certain starts. I think Vejmelka, though, unfortunately, is the guy for Arizona tonight. And for Colorado, it's Francouz in net as well. So you got two guys kind of struggling right now at the moment. So it was the first thing I saw when I noticed this before show. Vejmelka and Francouz, his first thought is maybe look over. Then I saw the total, 6.5. It's like, wow, they didn't give me a bargain there, did they? And, 6.5 with Arizona is a little tricky. It is. To bet this team over a 6.5 is not easy. But Francouz is really fighting it lately. He hasn't been great, hasn't been sharp, and it goes without saying, Vejmelka has definitely had a downturn in his recent play. By the way, Francouz has given up 3, 2, 3, and 4 goals the last 4 starts. So, like I said, Francouz hasn't been necessarily great lately. And as I mentioned with Karel Vejmelka here for the Coyotes, it really has been a struggle for him. 5 allowed to the Kings, 4 allowed to Tampa Bay, 5 allowed to Vancouver, 4 allowed to Calgary, had a couple of 6s in late January that he allowed to the Penguins and the Rangers. So, it definitely feels like could be a big night for Colorado offensively against him. So I lean over. I don't love the number, but it's the only way I would go in this game, side or total. I think Colorado gets it done, but hard to find value, with the price that we're seeing on them here. Jimmy, what do you think? Colorado, Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, this is close to being a Jimmy pass, but I am going to do one thing here. Give me the first period under in this.
All right, first period under, maybe sluggish.
That much, but I just feel like it. You know what? Colorado might come out, look ahead a little, and I don't know. Just got a gut feeling on this one. So give me that first period under.
All right, first period under for Jimmy here in this one. You can get that, by the way, at 1.5 first period under in this one at looks like it is minus 105. Actually, no, it's under 2, I should say. Minus 140. You could actually take under 2 minus 140, or you could take under 1.5 and get a plus price like 130 plus 130. So it's really your option. So there you go. Andrew, what do you think? Colorado, Arizona.
I can almost guarantee I'm probably going to have something in game with this one, whether it'll be a side or total here. But nothing really as of now. I know this is chalky, and I know that I'm not really the guy that like Ian always giving these great bargain bin props here, but I am going to take Nathan McKinnon to score a goal tonight here. Past couple of games, he's created so much. He has done very well. Their last game, a lot of guys got involved and had so many shots, and he had shots as well, but I expect him to score here. And the cool thing about with how many good goal scorers there are on that team, you actually get decent odds with McKinnon compared to some other teams with their star players where, what's McDavid every day, like minus 120 to score a goal? Not as fun. So give me Nate to score a goal tonight.
All right, Nathan McKinnon here to score a goal for Andrew in this one. All right, Boston and Vegas next up. Interesting matchup here. Bruins and Golden Knights. We've got Vegas, even money actually pretty much on both sides in this game. -110, total 5.5 pretty much across the board. Bruins been on this Western roadie for a while now. We'll see if they can keep it going here. They've had a pretty solid road trip overall, and it was close to getting some kind of result against Anaheim, but unfortunately, at the end of that game, things fell apart in the final minute. Bad penalty taken by Charlie McAvoy leads to the Trevor Zegras power play goal, and they get the win over the Bruins 4-3 in that game. So Boston looking to bounce back. When you look at the scheduling dynamics here, for Vegas, they had a couple of days off prior to the game against San Jose, so they got some rest in, whereas Boston's playing a lot of these games in a compressed period of time. February 24, February 26, February 28, back-to-back in Anaheim. And now this is going to be the third game in 4 nights and the fourth game in 6 nights now for the Boston Bruins. So you do get concerned a little bit just about the number of games they've had. They've been on the road for a little bit, and it's not over yet. They've still got one more on this trip in Columbus on Rick Nash retirement ceremony night, jersey retirement ceremony night for the Jackets on Saturday night when they host the Boston Bruins. So it's been a long road trip. Vegas got off the schneid with a 3-1 win against San Jose the other night back home here in the at T-Mobile Arena. I still don't like how banged up this team is. They obviously had enough to get by San Jose, but San Jose is definitely struggling at the moment. I think that was a very good bet by all parties. Many of us on the show, people in the chat, people in the Betcast Tuesday night had some piece of Vegas in regulation against San Jose the other night. Figured it was a good spot for them to bounce back, even with them being shorthanded. But tonight you're playing a better team. You're going to want Max Pacioretty. You're going to want, Alec Martinez, Mark Stone, Matthias Janmark. You're going to want these guys in the lineup in a game like this. And it's likely that you're not going to see any of them. Peter DeBoer just yesterday said, don't expect Max Pacioretty back anytime soon. So, when I look at this game here with Vegas shorthanded, I think there's definitely scheduling dynamics, situationals that favor Vegas here. A little more rest lately than Boston. Feeling better after getting a win against San Jose back home. They're always not easy to beat there. Boston's been traveling a while, but the bottom line is who's the fresher team, or not the fresher team, who's the healthier team? That's Boston right now at this point in time. So it's a really tough back and forth for me. And I was saying this to Jimmy before we started the show. This was a very tough back and forth for me. It's not a game I'm going to be involved with, at least pregame. Jimmy, we'll turn to you. Bruins, Golden Knights.
Yeah, look, I know they're playing back-to-back nights, and I know that they, have played a lot of games, a lot of nights, but they did look good during that streak. But like you said, let's call it a fact here. They're tired, I think, and I think that it's caught up to the Bruins right now, and I think they're going to go the other way for a bit here for the rest of this trip. As I said to you before the show, I don't like them tonight, and I don't like them Saturday. And obviously, what they do tonight could change my mind, but I don't even like Saturday. Don't look past that game. Rick Nash number going to the rafters in Columbus. That barn is going to be rocking. It's not going to be your typical walk through Columbus and get a win. But staying with this game, I like Vegas here. I think this is a really big game for Vegas. They've been up and down. Like you said, they've been riddled with injuries. This is Jack Eichel's first game as a Vegas Golden Knight against the Boston Bruins, who he played plenty of times against as a Buffalo Sabre, as well as, he went to Boston University. He's from Massachusetts. I think he's going to be revved up for this game. So I got 2 plays on this game. I got Jack Eichel to score a goal as a prop in this, and I'm also going to go with the Vegas Golden Knights on the puck line in this game.
All right, Vegas Golden Knights, and going to go one step further. Never mind -110, which is plenty.
Value.
Yeah, plenty playable, the money line. I mean, it's just even money for Vegas at home. But he's going to go one step further, and he's going to take that value, and it's +230 for the Vegas Golden Knights, -1.5 on the puck line tonight in this one. Andrew, what do you think here, Bruins, Golden Knights?
I'm just going to go with the under 5.5 here. I think Vegas, I feel like, guys, I don't know what number of games we're in the season here, but every single time I talk about them, it's just trying to find out who's in or out. I feel like it's a basketball team, except for this time, it's not load management, it's actual injuries. Whether it's been defensemen or forwards, they've just had so many different guys out, and it's tough to see that for a team, like that with the caliber of players they have. But hey, like I alluded to at the beginning of the show, it doesn't really sound like it'll be a problem come playoff time for them, and that's what really matters the most. So, the Boston Bruins, I think I've had a pretty good read on their totals recently. I picked some unders, picked some overs with them, and in this one, I think that fatigue hopefully is one of those type of fatigue where it's not sloppy fatigue. I'm hoping for just low event and boring type of hockey fatigue. So I don't really care who wins the game. I lean toward Vegas for that reason, but Boston's also playing some great hockey, so we'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward the under.
All right, like in the under. The under could get. I could see the case for the under clearly because of Jeremy Swayman, and he's likely going to be in net, and he's been very good lately. Very good, in fact, for the Boston Bruins. So
let me get on that under as well. So give me 3 plays.
There you go. I'm going to add it.
Let's go.
Andrew convinced me, and you're right. Jeremy Swayman is playing lights out. And look, I thought Robin Leonard played really well in his first game back. He's expected to start. I haven't seen a confirmation yet, but if it's Robin Leonard again, then you really got to look at that under.
Yeah, it's and Leonard is back, and that definitely helps. I thought for Leonard making that return, of course, against the San Jose Sharks the other night, I thought he was pretty solid. Now, again, he only faced 17 shots, and the key thing with Leonard is that
games, eh?
Yeah, he's got a team playing well in front of him defensively. They played a pretty good, compact defensive game against San Jose, Vegas. That helped Leonard out, certainly, in that regard. I think that's the way they're trying to play because they've gone under in 4 straight games, the Vegas Golden Knights. They know they're a little challenged up front with Pacioretty out, with Stone out, with Janmark, who gives them a little offensive punch and a depth forward role. They got to try to tighten it up a little bit, and they've done a good job of that, no doubt, in the last 4 games here. The situationals point me. So if I had to, like I say, I'm probably not betting the side pregame. I'll lean Vegas, though, because I do think the scheduling dynamics are significantly in their favor going into this game tonight. All right, next up, we've got the final game on this Thursday card, massive Thursday card. This is the last game, Montreal and Calgary. Calgary minus 410, minus 400, actually. Some places it's actually minus 425 here on the Calgary Flames. 6 the total in this game. I mean, it is just an absolutely massive, massive number here with the Calgary Flames. Is it warranted? Obviously, this is you're taking the fate of your bankroll into your hands maybe at the moment going against Calgary. That is true. This is a team that's playing absolutely outstanding, both ends of the ice. I mean, what element of their game isn't clicking right now? Their top players are scoring and lighting it up, whether it's Lindholm, Mangiapane, Johnny Gaudreau, Matthew Tkachuk. They're all feeling it right now for the Calgary. Tyler Toffoli, he's joined this team. And by the way, how do you not bet that tonight? Tyler Toffoli against his former mates. He didn't make any, didn't sugarcoat it in the press conference yesterday.
Yeah, that was funny.
He says, I feel bad for the way things are going in Montreal. I think they got a hardworking, good group in there, but I want to beat them. Here, he basically came right out and said, I want to beat them, though.
He said they're the enemy now.
Yeah, exactly. He's the enemy now. So and of course, I cashed a couple of goal scorer props in the Minnesota game on the BetCast with Toffoli was one of them. Mangiapane was another. But definitely Toffoli's going to be on my prop card tonight for goal scorers. No question about it. Facing his former team tonight, the Montreal Canadiens. So that's absolutely a look for me. I'll tell you what, though, this spot just reeks for Calgary, and I'll tell you why. They're coming off a couple of just beatdowns against the Minnesota Wild where they just took them apart, pillar to post, 7-3, 5-1. It doesn't get any more impressive than that. You return home. You face the Montreal Canadiens now, a team outside the division, outside the conference. Man, it's got that feel that early in the game, and Montreal, too, coming off their first loss after 5 in a row that they won under Marty St. Louis, that 8-4 game against Winnipeg, and should have seen it coming, by the way, with the Jets being all amped up and geeked up for that game. They clearly were against Montreal the other night. But I think Montreal could sneaky really take Calgary by surprise early in the game. This is a first period total for me, team total for Montreal here. I think they get on the board, to be quite honest with you. I just do. They didn't like the way their game ended against Winnipeg the other night. I just think early in this game, Calgary could be a little bit vulnerable. Now, it's one of those classic instances where, do I trust Montreal to win the game? I don't know. I said that about Buffalo last night too, because I said in the first period, I think they're worth a look, and they get on the board early in that game. They did. But I also said I'm not sure I fully trust Buffalo to win the game. Sure enough, they won the game. So maybe I should be splitting up a little first period, full game, small money line split with Montreal. I might, because I just feel that the team's effort has been better than a plus whatever they're getting here, 320 underdog in this game. But specifically, I want to target the third period, or first period rather, in this game, with Montreal to score a goal in the first period, minus 120. So it's either, some books will list it as to score a goal in the first period, Montreal. Some books will just say over 0.5 goals in the first period. It's minus 120. I do think Montreal can get on the board in that opening period. Just a little sleepy for Calgary after two big wins against Minnesota, and also maybe look toward that first period money line, or even if you want to be safer, take plus a half, minus 110 with Montreal in the first period. But I think that first period, they could sneak up on Calgary a little bit. So to be honest with you, of all the big dogs, this is the one that kind of I'm interested in the most. It's not Ottawa. It's not Arizona. It's probably not, those are the two big ones. It's not any of those two teams. If I had to choose Ottawa, Arizona, Montreal's the one I'm closest to actually getting in on and backing tonight in some form. And I think that the best way to go about it is the first period to score a goal, Montreal, minus 120. Either a money line at plus, if you want to go for the have the guts to go for that great value, plus 230 first period money line, or you can go plus a half goal, minus 110 first period to be safer. And I might just sprinkle two on the plus 320, plus 310 full game. I really think this is a scary spot for Calgary, just because things are swimming along so nicely. They just absolutely ripped apart Minnesota. They've got Montreal tonight. Oh, and guess who's they've got Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada? Showdown City in the Mile High City, the Colorado Avalanche on Saturday night. So this is a spot that just flat out stinks, in my opinion, for Calgary. Now, is Montreal good enough to take advantage of it, playing against an absolutely surging Flames team? That's the ultimate question. It's a chance I'm willing to take with Montreal here a little bit tonight. Jimmy, what do you think? Am I nuts? You got to get a little nuts at this time of year, because we're seeing it. We're seeing big dogs sneak up. You had to be a little nuts, a little cuckoo, a little Jack Edwards cuckoo level of cuckoo to take Buffalo last night against Toronto. But those people that did, they're getting rewarded for it. So, to me, Montreal, it's got that real pit of the stomach feel, Jimmy, after these two back-to-back dominations over Minnesota, that Calgary's just a little flat and dopey tonight. What do you think, Montreal, Calgary?
I'm right with you. And as far as Buffalo goes, that would be Rick Jeanneret, goofy, right? That was the old announcer. He was great. But no, with this game, you know what? I love it. I'm gonna do that Montreal puck line in the first period. So you're all right there. You take a little insurance, and then I also I'm gonna go under here. I think we go on a little lockdown, both sides here. I think Montreal plays a much more cohesive, tight defensive game. And also, you have to, just because it looks like he's revved up, like you said, I'm going to jump on that Tyler Toffoli goal prop as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely Toffoli for Calgary. We don't want, I'm hoping not a boatload of Calgary goals tonight, but definitely hoping that Tyler Toffoli does score one of them. And how do you go against the red hot Hamburglar right now, who's going to be in net tonight for the Montreal Canadiens? Andrew Hammond, 2-0, baby. In his first two NHL starts here for the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, he came in to the game in relief of Montembeault the other night against Winnipeg, but his two starts were victories. Ottawa Saturday night last week, and the New York Islanders. And guess who took Montreal in both of those games? I did. I took Montreal against the Islanders that Sunday, where they were a crazy dog, plus 220. I thought that price is nuts. The Islanders minus 240 in that game. And then against Ottawa, he got the win in that one. So, again, this is just scheduling dynamics, situational 101 here, which I'm not a big situational guy throughout the season, but now we're getting into this time of year, and you're starting to see these dregs like Montreal start to show you something since the coaching change. You got to take them into account a little bit. And with this being the ultimate, two big ones with Minnesota, Colorado on deck Saturday night for Calgary, it really does make this little little old matchup against Montreal, a little dubious for the Flames. What do you think, Andrew, here, Montreal, Calgary?
Yeah, guys, I'm never someone to like. I don't like to be known as someone that rips on goaltenders that much, unless it's like blatantly obvious and stuff. But there was some bad defense for the Habs early in that game against the Jets. The first period, that's on the defense, but those late goals that Montembeault let in. I mean, I had some buddies texting me saying, "Boy, I bet you missed Price in this game, eh?" And like, I was like, "Of course. I've been missing him the whole season." But
And
getting
that's
caught off your
Montembeault.
post and
He can have
Scheifele
a shutout
scoring,
against Buffalo, Andrew, and he
yeah,
was great in that game. And then you see what happens against Winnipeg. It's inconsistency. That's why he's where he's at in his career.
of course. But when you get peppered with shots every game and you go into a season being the number 3 and you end up being the number 1 for so many games, that's what happens. But getting scored from behind net, that kind of stuff, that kind of sucks. But Hammond has looked confident, and I'm going to ride him, until he proves me otherwise. But what Jimmy brought up there is what I like as well, the +0.5. And I feel like so many people try and go bold with these first period money line underdog plays. I just don't get it. Like, are you not satisfied with a win? Do you have to hit the big +300 every time you play, make a bet? Because yesterday, if you were someone that bet Buffalo +0.5 in the first period, guess what happened? I mean, there's so many different opportunities where if you look at +0.5, you're literally winning if it's 0-0, It's like double chance in hockey and soccer. And I like that quite a bit. And the +1.5. How often, Ian, do we see +1.5, Jimmy, as well? +140. +140 on a +1.5. Most of the times, +1.5s are like horribly priced. So I'm on the first period plus a half goal and the full game +1.5. And I know we've got our sponsor DraftKings here, guys, but I'm about to expose them for something real quick, because on the points page on DraftKings NHL, I thought I was seeing something. Why is the guy that had a hat trick last game over 0.5 points +145 for the Canadians, but Nick Suzuki is -115 to get a point? How does that make any sense in the world?
Nope.
How is Nick Suzuki -115 to get a point, but Josh Anderson is +145? What's the thought process going into that? Suzuki is a two-way forward. The great articles I've seen recently, people are comparing him more to a Bergeron than a Matthews type player. And it's because he plays great two-way game. He's a, playmaker. How the hell is this guy a minus when Josh Anderson is +140? I couldn't believe it. So anyway, I got to go with the value and take Josh Anderson to get a point. But to be honest with you, I wanted to take Suzuki. That was my plan before I checked the odds. But after looking at that, I can't avoid, maybe Josh Anderson sets up Suzuki tonight. That line is clicking. So any thoughts on that there, guys? I mean, that's just nuts. I don't that has to be an error. I don't understand.
Well, it's what it is. It's full season numbers make up the player props, and odds makers just don't have the time, energy, or will, or certainly the time to really focus on hockey that much compared to the other sports to really look into it and see that, hey, the guy just had 3 points and a hat trick in his last game. So maybe we got to move up the price. Now, granted, Josh Anderson kind of been in a funk at times this season, and before that, he had a few pointless games without a point. So that may be playing some role in it, but certainly going to get his confidence back, you would think, with that performance against Winnipeg. Even in a losing effort, he was very good for the Canadians in that one. And you're right, Suzuki. Suzuki still had a pretty good, and probably overall for the year, when you look at the numbers, Suzuki, you look at Anderson this year, 15 goals, 19 assists, 24 points. Suzuki's got 34 points. So obviously way more points for Suzuki this year than Anderson. That's why he's probably priced a little more. But you are talking about a guy coming off 3 points in his last game, and a guy who's going to have some confidence. So, again, that goes back to the point. Full season numbers dictate where the props are, the numbers, the juice attached to them, and that's why you see Suzuki a slight favorite. It's the overall numbers, the 34 points that he has compared to the 23 points that Josh Anderson has. So that's probably why we see that right now. But, yeah, I get it. I mean, we're just seeing the guy come off getting a hat trick. So it definitely feels like, hey, you should be getting a higher price than that for him to score a point here tonight. Again, if Calgary, we say this, and the Cheshire Cat's making a point. Do you like Montreal. Is there any reason you like Montreal in this spot besides them coming off the 2 games against the Minnesota Wild? It's because they've actually played very competitive lately. And even the Winnipeg game, that game started just as poorly and rough as it could have. And here they are roaring back to tie the game 4-4. I mean, you do have to give them some sort. They could have easily said it's not our night. Washed their hands of that game and saying we're done with this after falling down 4-0 to the Jets. And they didn't do that. So, that Marty St. Louis work ethic and just keep playing mentality that he's been drilling into this team has been working. So I think they show you that kind of effort tonight. And they've got some lightning in a bottle for Hammond. They like the guy, just like Ottawa liked him many years ago when Hammond played for them. He's a very likable teammate. They want to go out there, play great for him, help him win. They've done that against Ottawa. And, 2 of their best defensive games under Marty St. Louis were the 2 starts for Hammond, the Islander game, the Senator game. So that's what gives me hope they can hang around here in this game tonight against Calgary. And, of course, Calgary off the 2 Minnesota games, big games in the division, team they're battling with for playoff positioning, and Colorado, who they're battling with as well, coming up on Saturday night. So it's just a prime potential sandwich trouble spot, if you will, for the Calgary Flames tonight. But we'll see if Montreal can take advantage. Great stuff. Jimmy Murphy, Andrew McInnis, a huge Thursday card. We're looking forward to it. We're also looking forward to talking about DraftKings Sportsbook before we get to Best Bets, official sports betting partner of both the NHL and NBA. Make sure you take advantage. As Andrew mentioned a minute ago, you know what? They're not going to be mad, Andrew, that you mentioned, hey, did they make a mistake here? No, they want you betting with them. So they want you to try to take advantage of said mistake if possible. So I'm sure DraftKings will be happy with that. Anytime you can say, hey, go bet something at DraftKings, they're going to be happy with that for sure. And a reminder, again, with the NBA All-Star break being back, you can definitely take advantage if you're a new customer with NBA betting with DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers can bet $1 on any NBA team, get $150 in free bets if they win. It's that simple. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still take your shot at a big payday. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Basketball Contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $1 on any NBA team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA and NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gaming resources. Void where prohibited. Minimum $5 deposit. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app. Sign up for an account. Use the promo code THPN. 228 live viewers on YouTube. We thank you. We thank each and every one of you for tuning in. A great live viewership number today. Hit the like button on the way out if you haven't done so already. We appreciate it. All right, best bets here for this massive Thursday slate. Jimmy, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
I'm going to go with that Carolina puck line, guys, over the Capitals there. I just see them taking care of business. It could get really ugly for the Caps tonight.
All right, really ugly, says Jimmy. -1.5, +195. Carolina Hurricanes on the puck line against Washington. Best bet for Jimmy Murphy. Andrew, best bet.
Let's hope the dog is barking tonight. I'm going against the defending Cup champions. I'm going with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Best bet material here, +145.
All right, plus we'll give you better than that. +150. Pittsburgh Penguins against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Best bet for Andrew McInnis here.
And I wanted to say real quick, Ian, I didn't think we were going to hit our best bets together, man. If the Buffalo Sabres, the Maple Leafs put up 1 goal and the Buffalo Sabres had 5, I really didn't think that would be the storyline to our under yesterday. So that's unbelievable.
For sure.
I was nervous Buffalo was going to do us in by themselves.
If you would have told me before the game the Leafs are going to have 1 goal, I would have put 20 times more on that under than I did. And
conversely, you would have said if the Sabres scored 5 goals, well, there goes my under.
Yeah.
And
unbelievable.
Sure enough,
we'll take it though, Jimmy.
5-1
for sure.
with the Sabres and Leafs staying under the total. Just one of those games, like it's just like they were skating in quicksand all night long, the Leafs. It was pretty rough to watch, especially if you're a Leaf fan. My best bet is going to be the same side as Jimmy's, actually, but I'm going to go with the more conservative approach. Carolina money line -130. Actually, there's some -120s out there, believe it or not, in some spots. Cheap price, better team. Washington in turmoil. Carolina -120 against Washington for best bet. Florida, Ottawa. Usually I go with a lot of totals for best bets. Florida, Ottawa over 6.5. I almost went with that for best bet, but I'm going to go with Carolina here, -120 against Washington for best bet for this Thursday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for joining us. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Jimmy Murphy and Andrew McInnis, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on Friday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.